da-da-dum. And so I would start, she said, nein, das ist nicht richtig, es soll so anders sein. Nein, das ist ja, es gibt ja keinen Geist. Okay, so da, nein, also gut, also, and so it drove me absolutely crazy that the Germans' intensity was not really for me. So I moved to London, where things were a little bit more casual, where people could put on concerts without too much rehearsals, and we could, feel each other, and this was really wonderful. So I pursued this life of a concert pianist, music chamber music, and then I arrived at the age of 20 something, 6 I think, or 5, and I had a crisis that said, I don't want this life any longer. Damn, what am I going to do? And so there was really a pretty serious moment in my life. And then suddenly I got a call from a friend of mine who had a friend who knew a singer who had lost her pianist for a concert the next day. And so she couldn't find anybody. He asked me whether or not I wanted to do this concert. So I said, why not? She sent me the music. I looked it up. It was quite easy. And so we got together before the concert, and then we started the concert. So it was Schumann, Frauen lieben und leben, which is a beautiful piece by Schumann. And I started a few chords, and then she started singing, seit ich ihn gesehen, glaub ich blind zu sein. And suddenly tears flowing out of my eyes, my hair standing like this, my spine tingling, and I thought, this is my new career. So I moved to New York 31 years ago to pursue this career as what we call an accompanist for singers and as a coach. Then I auditioned for the Met, and the Met hired me immediately. And I've been at the Met 24 years now. And there I worked with the greatest real singers really in the world. And yes, everything we say about them is true. Whatever you want to know about them, it is true. But what is amazing is these people are absolutely phenomenal. They give so much of themselves. They give so much energy, passion. They have dedication. They have energy. They work hard. And it's really fabulous to be there. So then I met Seiji Ozawa. Seiji Ozawa, Conductor, he needed someone to help him with the music preparation of a chorus by Poulenc. So I was hired, and immediately we got on really well. And he decided that I was going to be his musical assistant forever. So I stayed with him almost 20 years, where I shared with him 49 productions. And he really insisted that I needed to be his assistant as assistant conductor, but I had never conducted before. So I was in Russia as an assistant to a conductor, and it was Manon by Massenet, the first time that it was ever performed at the Bolshoi. And before the last performance, I received a call from the Bolshoi asking me whether or not I could conduct the last performance. And I said, no way, there's absolutely no way. I'm not a conductor. I'm not going to conduct Massenet with no rehearsal, not having ever conducted. And I said, I can give you the name of many conductors, but not me. And they said, you don't understand, we need to have conductor. We have visa problem, you must conduct tomorrow. And I said, no, I can't, I don't want to. You do not understand, you have no choice. So I decided, okay, I was trapped in Moscow, and I needed to step forward. So the day of the performance, I didn't have a tuxedo, of course, because I arrived as an assistant. So we went through the costume shop of the Bolshoi Opera and looked at the costumes for Die Fledermaus. Is there a problem, or can you still see me?
No.
There's I don't know, something came up.
The screen.
What?
You see the screen.
Stop broadcasting screen with Zoom. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened. Anyway, Alice Kendall. I know Alice Kendall. Hi, Alice Kendall. How are you? So where was I? So then we went to the production of Die Fledermaus, And we tried on all these tuxedos. But of course, I'm a rather French body, very slim body, and we couldn't find anything that was actually fitting. So the woman said, no problem. And so she stitched the tuxedo all over the place, all the time. Is there a problem again? Okay, am I still here?
Yes.
So there's a pop-up windows about recording that is going on all the time. Anyway, so there I was, all pinned up and ready to go, but I didn't have a baton. So what we did is that we went throughout the entire Bolshoi theater and opened up drawers, and eventually we found a baton. And then it was time for me to start. And when I heard the knock at the door, and it says, Maestro Vallet, please come to the pit. I thought I was going to die. And I remember precisely the walk from my dressing room to the pit, to the orchestra pit, thinking Marie Antoinette on her way to the guillotine didn't have as much fear as I did. So anyway, I step up onto the podium and I saw 70 desperate musicians. And suddenly I thought, no, I cannot disappoint them. My sense of responsibility was too strong. So therefore, I decided to start. And lo and behold, it went really well. And suddenly the performance happened. And I decided that this was my new career. And Ozawa then gave me a lot of opportunities, including the Tannhäuser at the Paris Opera, which I followed him on. And then the Met made me a staff conductor, which means that if there is a substitute to be had, I am asked to do it. And there we are. Now, my last year, for Beethoven's 245 anniversary celebration, I recorded the 5 Beethoven piano concertos, including the triple concerto, with a French pianist called Elisabeth Somba, a wonderful, wonderful pianist. We recorded with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra all of last year, all 6 concertos. And just a few days ago, the BBC Classical Music Magazine named my recording of the Beethoven 1 and 2 as one of the top 10 recordings of the celebration year. So please go to Spotify and listen to it. So I think that could be a good summary of my life with tidbits. Do you have any questions? Do you want to see and know more? Yes, Laura.
Hi, I'm a mezzo-soprano, and one of my dream roles is Carmen, and I saw that you've conducted Carmen. And my question for you is, I know it was originally written by Bizet as being sort of like a smaller scale, more intimate production. Did that influence you at all, that previous history of Carmen, or did you just kind of take inspiration from, you know, the current modern way that Carmen is often produced?
That's a very good question. The thing is that the appeal of Carmen is so enormous that Carmen and the genius of Carmen is so enormous that it can adapt to any size auditorium, the Met, the Paris Bastille, or the small. But it's true that the true value, I think, of Carmen is when we do the dialogue in French, and all of them spoken by French people. When some companies, like in Dallas, they did it with non-speakers, non-French speakers, and it's really difficult.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Someone had mentioned what is the future of classical music in the COVID area. And unfortunately, it's looking quite grim. I hear from Broadway producers that the season is not going to start after Labor Day, but more in January of this year. And other people are saying maybe there will be yet another delay that might actually push back the season to October of 2021, which means for us musicians, performers, really a huge blow, a huge blow.
So tell me, you've been working with these opera stars and maybe some of them divas, and what is it? How does that work? I mean, share us without giving any names, but maybe some interesting stories of how you're able to get someone who's quite accomplished, but to, you know, perform in a way that fits with your style and with what you're trying to impart as a conductor.
Yeah, no, it really took a long time to understand the psychology of a superstar. So I've worked with them all. You name them all, from Kathleen Battle to Jesse Norman to Pavarotti to whoever. I've worked them all. And what I've realized is that although they have big personalities and big names and big careers, they are still extremely vulnerable. Why? Because basically your life, your identity is defined by two pieces of flesh right here. And that's all that defines who you are and how you're going to make a living and your status in life. So yes, they can be golden and it can be extraordinary to have them, but it's also so vulnerable. I have also worked with tons of phenomenal young artists, and I can't tell you how many phenomenally gifted young artists I have followed and who have crushed, because this is a very difficult life. So first and foremost, you need to be nurturing. Although things they do certainly are not right, or they are out of style, or they are too much, you have to respect that there is a commitment somewhere. So you have to be basically a midwife of some sort, and a companion of some sort as well. So it's all about support. So I've realized that if I give corrections, then I will never get anywhere. But if I say let's say, I remember my first coaching at the Met was with Placido Domingo. So what do you say to Placido Domingo, you little worm at the Met? What do you say to Placido Domingo? So you tell him, look, here you have this fantastic energy, you have this intention here. This intention could be read better if you were to pronounce it this way, and maybe move your phrase that way, maybe articulate this way, and then you'll have an anchor that will basically allow your vision to appear. And so immediately he got really interested, and I gave him, I remember, my list was 50 things and he almost did everything. It was really incredible. The same way with Kathleen Battle, everyone knows that she's very difficult. She was made difficult by the business, which is a very tough business. But when I worked with her privately, again, I worked on a level of energy. So I entered with her the energy of the piece, the energy of the song, the energy of the arias. And I said, the person here feels this, that, and the other. And she said, yes, and I feel this and that. I said, great. So then it could go that way and this way, and inflection that way, and so on and so forth. And there she was, passionate, all over the place, walking around her studio. And then, so I thought, okay, so that's the way to approach these big, big stars. Same with Anna Netrebko. Anna Netrebko, you have to have her attention, and it's very difficult because she's pulled in so many directions. But if you arrive on a place of passion and theater, then everyone wants to go. If you arrive from the point of, well, your French sucks, then you will get nowhere.
I have a question, please.
Yes, Carol.
How much did you spend a lot of time with Seiji Ozawa up at Tanglewood?
Yes, 7 years.
And did you learn a lot up there? And did you love it as much as I love it?
Yes. Oh, you mean Tanglewood?
Tanglewood, yes.
Yeah, magical.
I thought that he was absolutely spectacular.
Yes. And the fact is that he will probably remain the most popular conductor there, and what he did. And so you want to share a few anecdotes of Seiji Ozawa. I remember the opening season of one year where he had to give a speech in front of all the students of the Tanglewood Music Academy. And of course, as we know, Seiji spent, I think, most of his career in the United States, but has really not mastered the English language. So I was wondering how he was going to do an opening speech. So he came to the podium and said, "Oh, welcome everybody. Oh, I have only one thing to say. One thing. No fear. Musicians, no fear." And that was the opening speech. But it told everything, and even for me, it told me everything. You cannot approach music at any level with fear in your heart. So shed aside all your fear and do it. and you do it at your level, at any level. And that was a very powerful message.
I saw him one summer conducting Jesse Norman in Strauss's Four Last Songs.
Wow.
And he made love to her up at the podium.
Yeah.
It was an extraordinary production.
Yeah, yeah, and you know why? Because his difficulty with German, French language, and all the rest of that is such that for him the words are difficult words. So you want me to share again a few tidbits? We were doing Barbieri di Siviglia. Cilindoro, io sarà. So he couldn't arrive, put the orchestra, sarà. He couldn't put the orchestra there. So cilindoro mio sarà. So he said to me, no, she goes, That was his relationship to the text and to the music. So for him, it's always been difficult. And that's why, in a way, we had such a wonderful partner, because I'm someone who loves languages and who really knows languages. So I would share with him how the language would go, and then he would, apply all of that. So he would be so attentive, maybe more so than anyone that I've known that speak, the language that they accompany. No, it was a love making, definitely. Yes, Francis.
You're mute, Francis.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pierre. This has been wonderful. You work in the States and you work in many countries. What would you say, what's the difference between working at the Metropolitan Opera in New York or in Paris? And please tell us the truth. We are entre nous. We are entre nous. So we can, we are ready to hear it.
So, it's not about the administration. The administration of all these opera houses are always extraordinary. And because it's the same kind of artists that you meet at the Paris Opera or at the Met Opera. So basically we are a big family moving around and traveling around. But I would say it's really about the audience. So I've conducted at the Met in Paris, in Lithuania, in Sweden, in Russia, and so on and so forth. And I can say my relationship with the orchestra is what I would like to speak about. And what I've realized is that in the East, so in Russia, in Lithuania, for instance, music making is not a job. It is a passion, but it is also a survival tool for them. And you can see that there is a commitment to the work, a commitment to playing that is unbelievably contagious, and for me, extremely rewarding. When you go to Paris and the West, you have phenomenal players, but the attitude is a little bit of, yes, this is a job. I'm doing this job, I'm good at it. Whereas when you go to the East, you see, this is a job I need. This is not it's something that I need. And I remember I was doing Don Carlo in Vilnius, Lithuania. And so in the orchestra, there were old people, wonderful people from Russia, from all over the Eastern Bloc. And it was really incredible. And we were doing 2 casts, Don Carlo, 4-hour opera. And so the schedule was the following. Monday, stage and orchestra rehearsal, cast A, in the morning, cast B, in the evening. Dress rehearsal on Tuesday for cast A in the morning, cast B in the afternoon. Can you imagine my shoulder? Wednesday morning, dress rehearsal for cast A, opening night on Wednesday. Thursday, opening night of cast B, Friday, second performance of cast A. So you can imagine 7 times Don Carlo. I was absolutely exhausted. And at the end of the last performance on Friday, a knock at my door. And this old guy, old musician, viola player, 3rd stand, comes to me with a translator and said, I wish I could play Don Carlo with you every single day of my life. So that's the big difference. That really is incredible.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Well, if anybody else doesn't have a question, may I ask a question?
Yes.
My first job, not my first job, but about 20 years ago, I used to teach at the Westminster Choir College in Princeton.
Wonderful.
And I taught French, and I must say that was my favorite job I've ever had, because when I would enter in the classroom, I could tell right away who is a singer and who is a musician.
Uh-huh.
Just just different dynamics. All musicians and singers are just very fascinating to work with, but just completely different wiring.
Yes.
Would you elaborate? And have you had the same experience as me?
Totally, totally. And again, you know, I was a chorus master for some time as well, and working with a group, it's a totally different mentality. With the orchestra, you need to be extremely to the point. You cannot speak. You cannot say, well, you know, here I imagine that this is a wonderful moonlight and the two lovers. No, 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 you cannot say that. It's either piano, diminuendo, faster, slower, crescendo, decrescendo, and best show with your arm what you mean, show articulation, show dynamics. Do not speak to us. We want to play. With the singers, you need to, again, have a dialogue with them. And of course, singers have words which mean something. They carry a message. So you talk about the message, you talk about the essence of what they say, and you talk about the diction. And so with them, the approach is more physical, more emotional, and they retain in a way totally in a totally different fashion than from the orchestra. And I love working with choruses. They are just wonderful people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? We still have a couple of minutes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so my background is exercise and nutrition. So you mentioned your shoulder. So I'm curious, do you have a specific workout that you do so that you don't have overuse problems or stretching? And how about hydration and how you prepare yourself for these long stints and the people you work with?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. No, so early on, I realized that in the travel, really, there's no access to gym, whatever. I needed to find a practice that I could do in my hotel room or in my apartment. So I took on Tai Chi in 2007. But before Tannhäuser, I thought to myself, I needed something really strong that allows to ground me. So Tai Chi has been extremely helpful. In London, I learned the Alexander technique.
Yeah.
So alignment and all the rest of that. I do aerobic exercises, of course. I go to the gym, and nutrition. Yeah, I'm fierce on supplements and good nutrition. So yeah, it really is. I consider myself an athlete, and I take care of my body in a way. Yeah, to express that. Yeah. Francis.
Yes, I just want to thank you once again, and to thank Alice, who brought us together.
Yes,
and
Alice.
Because of her, we were in the Holy Land, we were in Israel many years ago, 25 years ago, and I just wanted to pay homage to Alice and of her wonderful work to help and promote artists. Alice, thank you very much. Have I been unmuted?
No. But she is muted.
We're not.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
I had a question. Do you have a favorite venue to perform in?
The venue that like me.
Very good.
you know, I mean, you have to realize that when you come for the first time in front of an orchestra, you're not looking forward to it. You are filled with terror. And I have spoken to Ozawa, to Barenboim, to James Levine, all of these people in front of a new orchestra, you are terrified. So of course, once you start, when the music starts, then you're okay with that. And when So as conductors, of course, you are absolutely paranoid because you see all these people, they don't look at you, they speak between themselves, they are unruly most of the time, and so on and so on. And you think to yourself, they don't like me, so therefore I'm worth nothing, it's terrible. Until a friend of mine from the Met Orchestra, a wonderful, she was also almost a mentor. She gave me the most wonderful advice. She says, do not look at us, because what you look at is us being tired, us having problems with our instrument, us having problems with our co-chair, us criticizing the leader of our section. It's us having just signed divorce papers, it's us having toothache. We are human beings, so stop asking us to worship you. She said, just listen to us. If we play well, if we play in tune, if we do what you say, then you're okay. Just get on with it. so that has been an enormous help. And so now every time I arrive to an orchestra, and I have a tool, I don't look at them, I look around them. So I look at their energy in a way. I look at their aura, I look at their soul, and I address them by soul to soul, not flute, you flat, type of thing, or first oboe, it's not in tune, or so on and so forth. But I look at them in a way that I make them part of what we are going to create together.
Here, what wonderful, wonderful chat. I lived in Buenos Aires for several years. Did you ever do the Teatro Colón? They're so proud of the place.
No, but I was in Uruguay, Montevideo, and I saw a theater which was very similar. Yeah, it's amazing. And there again, the public there craves music. It's not I go to the Met because everyone says there's a good production. No, I need to have music making. Yeah.
There was a video made of the program, the season in Paris in 2016, which I think was Millepied's last season. And there was apparently an uprising in the chorus, but there's a video of the whole season. Have you seen that by any chance?
No. What is it called?
Opera.
Oh, wow.
Opera. Sorry. But it's been criticized because the cinematographer didn't really know anything about opera. He was just showing what turned up. On the other hand, for me, and in fact, I have attended one event at the Paris Opera, it was revelatory to see what was going on behind the scenes, and the casting of a very large animal, for example, and the way the chorus could rebel about what was going on. And of course, the ballet, the director of the ballet, who was a big star and had a wife who was a big star, could cause a great deal of trouble. But I'm sorry you haven't seen it. If I find more about it, I will let John Bennett know.
Great.
And
yeah.
If you want to, you can see it.
I do want to, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I often think that the public is missing a great deal for not being in the rehearsal, because they are really, the drama is behind stage. If there is time, I can share another story from the Met. Is there time?
Yes. And then after that, Annie Michel has a question after that story. She's next with a question.
So we all know our beloved Nathalie Dessay. We all love her. We worship her. She's extraordinary, and so on. And we also last week that there was Hamlet by Ambroise Thomas at the Met broadcast. I don't know if you've seen it, but anyway. And so Nathalie certainly will not mind my saying that, but the production was mounted around her. It was her big Met moment because of this is the repertoire that Nathalie Dessay does exceedingly well. And so we started rehearsal, and she said she had a lumbago. We all know what a lumbago is. Here in the States, people don't know what a lumbago is. But anyway, tremendous backache that made her not able to walk. So we continued without her, but it's hard to do Hamlet without Ophélie. And then the second week, she called again and said, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm not able to move. I won't be able to travel. but I'll come next week. Third week arrived, and she said, I'm terribly sorry, I still cannot come. And so now the Met director, Peter Gelb, decided that he couldn't risk for her not to show up at all. And so looked all over the world to find someone who knows the role of Ophélie, which is very difficult. And he found a wonderful German singer called Marlies Petersen. She's absolutely fabulous, who'd done it in German, but needed to do it in French. And we're talking 4 days before the dress rehearsal. Can you imagine? 4 days before the dress rehearsal. So I was sent to Vienna. It was absolutely fabulous. I arrived that night and I saw her do a piece by Reimann, a very difficult piece by Reimann. She did it fabulously well. So I thought this woman has musicianship, she has memory, she knows how to do it. So we got together the next afternoon, worked 3 hours, then the next day worked 6 hours, and again the next day 6 hours. And then we returned to New York, and she had 1 day of stage rehearsal in the room, and lo and behold, did a phenomenal, the next day, dress rehearsal. So you see, we didn't see that. We didn't, you didn't know about that story, but I mean, the feast of being able to relearn a role in French and do a fabulous job on a, 5-day notice is incredible. That's why I love opera singers. Questions?
Annie Michel?
Oh, just, it's not really a question. I just wanted to tell you that I used to play violin in an orchestra. So I'm very happy to meet you. And it was funny when you said that we did not, we were talking together. No, we were not. We were listening to our conductor and we were with him and we were following him.
Good. Yeah. Yes, Paul? Let me know.
I have a question for Pierre, please. This is Michael Fenley. I'm a pianist in New York City.
I know you.
Yes, I'm friends with Alice and Pierre, yes. Hey, do you have any pet projects, composers that you like to champion? Like I always have an idea to produce all the Saint-Saëns operas. They're not done much. Or some early Meyerbeer. I'm curious about your taste in repertoire and what you would like to, if you had no budget problems or no nothing, just anything you want, what would you like to produce?
Right. Well, I mean, I've always wanted to expand. So I never wanted to narrow myself. So I did, everything from Meyerbeer opera to Wagner to Schoenberg and so on and so forth. But yes, I really think the Meyerbeers and the operas of that. I mean, conducting La Juive, for instance, was an extraordinary experience. And I think these were really the operas of the opera at the Paris Opera during that season. I would love to do them. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Absolutely.
Any 20th century music that you would like
I want to record Dialogue of the Carmelite. If that can be done through you guys, I would welcome that. But Dialogue of the Carmelite is a deep opera, and I have an extraordinary connection to it on many levels. Yes, that would be the one I would like to do.
And do you like to compose yourself?
I tried, unsuccessfully.
Well, it takes a long time.
It takes a long time, yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm sorry. I don't know if it's my turn. Already asked the question. How about crossover fusion? I don't know the appropriate musical term, but I've always admired Wynton Marsalis. Ever work with or consider working with people who are outside of the operatic domain? Or would you like to if you haven't?
I love Broadway. I do not understand a thing about jazz. I mean, nothing at all, and I cannot improvise to save my life. But you know, the big Broadway pieces like The King and I and Carousel, all of that. As a matter of fact, I conducted in Russia, in St. Petersburg, I conducted the singer. We did a whole first half of French melodies, and then the second half was all Broadway, and I loved it, really loved it.
You should call Wynton. We were roommates when he was 23, and I love the guy, and he's a delightful person to work with.
I'd love to meet him. Yeah.
All you have to do is phone him.
Okay, great.
Any last question, please? All right.
Oh, I was going to mention one thing, Pierre. This has been fascinating. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Amal and the Night Visitor. That is how I discovered opera many, many years ago as a youngster. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
It was performed on the local level. My mother happened to play the lead, the mother, in the opera way back when.
Yeah.
And that just gave school-age children an excellent foray into the world of opera. Is anything like that being done these days?
Oh yes, all the time, all the time. This is the performed opera for school, and I don't know what's going to happen now with COVID, but definitely, yeah. And what I miss in the States is that music is not done in school. I mean, it should be done in school. The only way to create an audience is to have this, to expose young kids to music, and they are not, you know, they don't have any pre-selected conditioning that, well, it's classical music. No, they love music altogether, and that's what we should do. And if you know, if we did more of that, then we would still have tons of audiences.
You know, if I may tell you my story of my first opera, because my Italian teacher in a little town of Newburgh, New York, up the Hudson River, we had a very good language department, and the Italian teacher would take all the language students and would take all the music students and rent a bus and take us to the Wednesday matinee at the Met. And we go to a French restaurant first, and my first opera was La Traviata at the Met, and I was in high school, and I've had a subscription to the Met for probably, you know, 30, 35 years when I lived in New York City. And she was so amazing because she would walk into the classroom singing arias from Verdi, and she'd say to me, Giovanni, non c'è un corso di francese, c'è un corso di italiano. You know, it's not this isn't a French class, it's an Italian class, speak with an Italian accent. And it was so memorable that as you were just saying, at the early stage of education, it inspired a lifelong interest. So
exactly.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I have one last thing that I would like to share, is that when I was assisting Seiji on L'Heure Espagnole and Janis Kiki, the production was mounted by the Paris Garnier Opera. So he came only for the orchestra reading, so I was doing all the rehearsals in the pit of the Garnier Opera. And whom do you think I was thinking about? Do you think I was thinking, oh my God, Herbert von Karajan, Karl Böhm, all these luminaries were standing on that pit? Do you think I was thinking that? No. Who did I think about? Louis de Funès in La Grande Vadrouille, as he was conducting. That's what I thought. Oh my God, Louis de Funès conducted the Paris Orchestra at Garnier, and I'm standing in the same spot. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciated it very much. Let me just
wonderful presentation.
Unmute everyone here.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Bravo. Bravo.
Bravo.
Great. Great. Thank you.
Bravo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merci.
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 Okay, so it's a bye-bye?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Au revoir. À bientôt. À bientôt.
À la prochaine.
À la prochaine. Ciao.
Au revoir. Merci.
That was wonderful. Turn it off. It's great.
That was terrific.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thursday is
Awesome.
non-judgmental Francais, and then next week we have Ambassador Aro, the former ambassador of the United States. Should be quite
wow. Yeah.
So hope to see you all then. Have a bonne soirée and the rest of your apéro and dîner.
Merci.
Good curating.
Thank you.